Hey everyone, and welcome. So you've done it. You've spun up a clever little AI agent, it works in the lab, and it looks great. But now the real work begins. How do you take that shiny prototype and turn it into a rock-solid system that your business can actually depend on? Well, that's what we're here to talk about. Let's dive into the playbook for bridging that critical gap from prototype to production.
This quote just hits the nail on the head. That first spark, that initial build, that's the easy part, the fun part. But earning the trust, the real deep confidence to let that agent run loose with your customers and your data, well, that's a whole other ballgame.
And it's not a small challenge either. In fact, it's huge. What we see over and over again is that a staggering 80% of the total effort isn't even about the agent's core smarts. Nope, it's about the security, the infrastructure, the testing, all the hard work it takes to get it across what we call the last mile into production.
So, what happens if you try to cut corners on that last mile? The results can be, well, catastrophic. And we're not talking about minor bugs here. We're talking about major business disasters. Imagine a support agent getting tricked into giving away your products for free, or a user finding a way to access confidential data. Or how about an agent just going wild and racking up a massive bill without anyone noticing? These are the real-world nightmares we have to prevent.
All right, to get our heads around this, we're going to walk through 5 key stages. First, we'll really define that last mile problem. Then, we'll get into how you can automate trust before you even think about deploying. After that, we'll cover what it takes to operate these agents out in the wild, how to create an ecosystem where they can work together, and finally, we'll tie it all up with the complete AgentOps lifecycle.
Okay, first up, the last mile problem. Now you might be thinking, hey, we have MLOps for our machine learning models. Can't we just use that? And not quite. See, agents are a totally different breed. They bring a whole new set of challenges to the table that mean we have to evolve our thinking.
And here's why they're so different. First, you've got dynamic tool orchestration. An agent doesn't follow a fixed path. It literally makes it up as it goes, grabbing different tools to get the job done. Second is scalable state management. Your agent has to remember the context of long, winding conversations, which is incredibly hard to do at scale. And finally, because its path is so unpredictable, you get wild swings in cost and latency. Good luck trying to budget for that.
So how on earth do we solve this? Well, we build an automated factory for trust. This next part is all about what happens before production. We're going to use the power of CI/CD, that's continuous integration and continuous deployment, to swap out all that manual guesswork and uncertainty for automated confidence.
The key idea here is to think of your deployment pipeline as a funnel. At the very top, before any new code even gets merged, we run a ton of fast, cheap checks and quality tests. If it passes, it moves down to a staging environment, a perfect copy of production for some serious stress testing. Only after it clears all of those hurdles does it get the green light for production, and even then, usually with a final human sign-off.
And even that final push to production isn't some big, dramatic flip-the-switch moment. No way. We de-risk it by rolling it out gradually. You could use a canary release, giving it to just a tiny slice of your users first, or a blue-green deployment, so you can roll back instantly if something goes wrong. It's all about slowly and carefully building confidence, one step at a time.
Okay, so your agent is live, congratulations. But the job isn't over. Now the whole game shifts from building the agent to managing this autonomous system that's out there in the wild, interacting with potentially thousands of users. And that requires a continuous, disciplined loop.
And this is that loop. Observe, act, evolve. It's simple, but it's powerful. First, you have to observe. You need to see exactly what your agent is doing in real time. Based on what you see, you act. You step in. You make adjustments to manage costs, performance, or safety. And then, you take all those learnings and you evolve the agent, making it fundamentally better for the next time around.
Now that observe phase, it really stands on 3 pillars. You've got your logs, which are like the agent's granular diary, every little thing it did. Then you have traces, which are the stories that connect those diary entries to tell you why it did what it did. And finally, you have your metrics. That's the high-level report card that tells you how well it's all performing overall.
And when you observe something going wrong, you need a playbook to act. The sequence here is absolutely critical. First, you contain the problem immediately. Hit a circuit breaker, disable a tool, stop the bleeding. Then, you triage the issue. Get it in front of a human to figure out what's going on. And only then do you resolve the root cause by deploying a permanent fix through your full, validated pipeline.
So, you've mastered operating one agent. Great. But pretty soon, you're not going to have one agent, you're going to have dozens of specialized agents built by different teams all over the company. The next big challenge is making sure they can all work together, instead of just living in their own little silos.
Getting agents to collaborate requires standardized communication. This brings us to two really important ideas. On one side, you have MCP, the Model Context Protocol. Think of this for simple one-off commands to a tool, like look up this specific piece of data. On the other side, you have A2A, the Agent-to-Agent Protocol. This is for delegating big, complex goals, like go figure out why customer churn is up and give me a strategy. A great way to think about this is like an auto repair shop. The customer, that's you, talks to the shop manager agent. You use A2A to give them a high-level goal. My car is making a funny noise. The manager then delegates to a specialist, the mechanic agent, again using A2A. But when that mechanic needs to do something specific, like run a diagnostic scan or look up a part number, that's when it uses MCP to call on those simple tools.
All right, let's zoom out and put all of these pieces together. We've talked about development, pre-production, operations, collaboration. All of these stages combine to form one single cohesive system, the AgentOps lifecycle. And here's what that looks like. You start with development, building, and prototyping. Then you move into pre-production, where you evaluate and validate everything through that CI/CD funnel. From there, it's into production with those safe, gradual rollouts. Once it's live, you manage it with that constant observe, act, evolve loop. And this is the most important part. The insights you get from production feed right back into the top, fueling the next cycle of development. It's a virtuous loop.
At the end of the day, here's what this is all really about. While all of these practices make your agent safer, more reliable, and more trustworthy, the ultimate payoff is velocity. Having a mature AgentOps system means you can go from a new idea to a deployed improvement in hours or days, not weeks or months. It turns out that safety is what enables speed.
And that brings us right back to where we started. Bridging that last mile isn't just the final task on a project plan. It's the beginning of creating real, lasting value for your business. So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. Your agent is built, but is it really ready for the last mile?